In a sprawling mansion on the edge of the city, a billionaire named Victor Hale sat in silence, staring at his young son lying motionless in a hospital bed built into the corner of the nursery. The boy Daniel was only 7, born with a condition that left his legs paralyzed since birth. Despite all the wealth Victor possessed, nothing could buy the miracle he longed for. Dozens of doctors, specialists, and healers had tried and failed. The air in the room always felt heavy, as if even the walls had given up hope. Outside, the world celebrated Victor's empire. But inside, the man lived in despair, tormented by guilt and helplessness that no fortune could erase. One morning, while Victor was meeting with his medical advisor, the staff brought in a young girl who lived in the nearby village. Her name was Lily, no older than 10, with wide eyes full of innocence and curiosity. She had come selling hand-picked flowers at the mansion gate, her clothes faded but clean, her voice soft and sincere. The headmaid, touched by her politeness, allowed her inside for a moment of rest. As Lily wandered through the mansion hall, she paused when she heard faint music coming from Daniel's room. Her instincts, pure and kind, led her toward the sound that would soon change everything. Daniel was sitting upright in bed, his thin fingers trembling as he tried to reach a small toy car on the side table. The moment Lily stepped in, his eyes met hers, curious yet cautious. "Hi," she said gently. "I brought flowers." He didn't respond, only stared as if trying to read her soul. She noticed a sketchbook beside him filled with drawings of people walking, running, dancing, things he could only imagine. Without saying a word, she placed a single yellow flower on his bedside and smiled. For the first time in a long while, Daniel's lips curved upward, faint but real. Over the next few days, Lily began visiting often, bringing small gifts, stones she painted, folded paper birds, or little stories she made up. The house staff liked her cheerful nature, though Victor didn't pay much attention. One afternoon, Victor saw his son laughing through the half-open door, something he hadn't witnessed in years. Lily was showing Daniel how to make a paper crane, her voice calm and encouraging. Something about her presence filled the cold marble mansion with warmth. Victor didn't understand why, but each time she visited, Daniel's face seemed to glow a little brighter, his spirit lighter, his eyes livelier. Weeks passed and a subtle change began to show. Daniel's fingers moved more freely, his shoulders stronger. The doctors dismissed it as temporary nerve spasms, but Lily insisted it was something deeper. "He's healing because he's happy," she said simply. Victor, frustrated yet intrigued, decided to observe her more closely. He watched from the doorway as Lily spoke softly to Daniel, asking him to imagine light moving through his body. She touched his hand gently and whispered, "Your legs remember what it feels like to move." Something stirred within Victor, both hope and fear intertwined. Late one night, Victor walked into Daniel's room to find Lily sitting beside the bed humming a tune. Her hands glowed faintly in the dim lamplight, not magic but warmth pure and real. Daniel, half asleep, was murmuring words Victor didn't understand. When Lily noticed him, she stood abruptly, frightened. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered, backing away. But Victor wasn't angry. He was speechless, overwhelmed by an emotion he hadn't felt in years. He asked her quietly, "How do you do this?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know," she said. "Sometimes when I care for someone, they start to get better." The next morning, Victor's world shattered and reformed all at once. Daniel moved his right leg slightly, a faint twitch but enough to send shock through everyone present. The doctors rushed in disbelief. Victor fell to his knees beside the bed, tears of joy streaming down his face. Lily, standing silently by the door, seemed both happy and afraid. When Victor turned to thank her, he noticed something, an old locket around her neck engraved with his late wife's initials. Confusion gripped his heart. He asked her where she got it. Lily hesitated, then said softly, "It was my mother's." The truth unraveled painfully. Years ago, before his wife passed away, Victor had been told their newborn daughter died during childbirth. But the nurse who delivered the baby had stolen the child out of desperation, giving her to a poor family in a nearby village. Lily was that lost daughter, his own blood. Victor felt the world tilt beneath him. The girl who had unknowingly healed her brother was the very piece of his heart he thought was gone forever. The resemblance in her eyes, her kindness, her quiet strength, it all made sense now. Fate had brought her home. When Lily learned the truth, she was overwhelmed. She looked at Victor with tears streaming down her face, unsure how to feel. "So Daniel? He's my brother?" she whispered. Victor nodded, his voice breaking. "You saved him, Lily. You saved both of us." The boy sitting up in bed reached out to her and she ran into his arms. The three of them embraced under the soft golden light of morning, a moment of reunion that money could never buy. The doctors called it a miracle, but Victor knew it was something far greater, a love that had found its way through loss. Months later, Daniel could walk again, his steps slow but determined. The mansion was no longer silent. It echoed with laughter and life. Victor had changed too. No longer the cold, distant man he once was. He built a foundation in Lily's name, helping children in need, vowing never to let another family be torn apart by greed or fear. Every evening as the sun set beyond the marble gates, the siblings played in the garden, one once bound to a chair, the other born of sorrow yet filled with light. Their story became a testament that miracles don't come from wealth, but from love, forgiveness, and the power of finding what was once lost. As spring arrived, the Hale mansion blossomed with the same warmth that had returned to the hearts of its inhabitants. Victor often stood by the window, watching Daniel and Lily chase each other through the garden, their laughter echoing through the open halls. The air that once felt suffocating now carried the scent of new beginnings. Every corner of the house that used to remind him of grief now whispered peace. The servants, too, felt the change, no longer walking on eggshells but smiling freely. Victor had discovered that happiness was not something bought or built, but something that grew when hearts found healing. Lily often paused by her mother's old portrait, her eyes filled with both sorrow and gratitude, knowing that even through tragedy, fate had written their reunion with gentle precision. And as evening lights shimmered across the estate, Victor realized that he had finally found the one treasure his wealth could never buy, the love of a family made whole again. Months later, Daniel's recovery had become something of a local miracle. Reporters who once chased the family for scandalous headlines now came seeking stories of hope. But Victor refused interviews, preferring the quiet joy of his son's laughter and the simple life he was learning to live. In one tender moment as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel ran across the garden to hug Lily, his tiny arms wrapping around her waist as he whispered, "You saved me." Lily smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead, her eyes shimmering with tears she didn't try to hide. Nearby, Victor watched them, his heart full, finally understanding that love, not medicine or money, had healed his boy. The mansion, once a monument to pride, now felt like a sanctuary built on kindness. And as night settled softly over their world, Victor silently vowed never to let greed or loneliness blind him again, because sometimes the smallest hearts carry the greatest miracles. One chilly evening, Victor sat by the fireplace holding an old photograph of his late wife. The flames danced gently, casting golden light across the room as he whispered, "He's walking now. You'd be proud of him." There was a quiet peace in his words, a sense of forgiveness for the years he had spent lost in sorrow. Daniel and Lily sat nearby, building a small castle out of wooden blocks, their laughter mingling with the crackling fire. When Daniel dropped a piece, Lily patiently helped him rebuild, her calm voice guiding him like an older sister. Watching them, Victor felt an ache of gratitude so deep it almost hurt. He finally saw what true wealth meant. Not the sprawling estate, not the expensive suits, but the warmth that filled a once-empty home. For the first time in years, he didn't fear the future. He simply wanted to live every moment, cherishing the family life he thought he had lost forever. Months later, the mansion was alive with music and laughter again. The grand hall, once cold and silent, now glowed with soft golden light as children ran across the marble floor. Daniel, no longer needing a wheelchair, walked proudly beside Lily, both carrying trays of cookies they had baked together. Victor watched from the doorway, tears glimmering in his eyes, his heart lighter than it had ever been. The doctors called Daniel's recovery miraculous, but Victor knew it was something more. It was love, patience, and faith reborn through that little girl's kindness. Outside, the evening sun painted the gardens in warm orange tones, and the scent of blooming roses drifted in through the windows. Victor knelt beside the children, pulling them into an embrace, whispering, "You two saved me." Lily smiled shyly, her eyes sparkling as she said, "We just helped each other, Mr. Victor." And as laughter filled the room again, The mansion no longer felt like a symbol of wealth, it felt like home.